Hey y'all, welcome back to our channel. My name is Michaela, and this is a story time about how I lost my fiance and the love of my life. So, Warrick and I got engaged on May the 1st of 2024 this year. Um, just a backstory. It wasn't supposed to be on May the 1st. He had intended on proposing to me on June 7th on his birthday, but I ended up like asking too many questions because he was acting weird, acting kind of funny, and but whole time he was up to planning the proposal. So anyways, we were engaged for like a month and a half, and then on June 27th, which was the last day that I saw him, he came by my work, and I was getting ready to be done for the day. And I looked at him and I said, you look good, but you look old. And he said that he was tired. I didn't think nothing of it because I'm like, okay, he does look tired. And so we went our separate ways. But before that, I had asked him, was he gonna come by to see me, hang out with me, and he said, no, I'll see you tomorrow. And he went on about his way, and he went out to the bar with his friend to go hang out. And after he left the bar, um, we stayed on the phone from like 10 p.m., maybe 9 p.m., 10 p.m. to 12:01 a.m. And we said goodnight, I love you, all that other good stuff. And then the next day, June 28th, I call him. Well, no, first I text him good morning because, that's what we do. We didn't stay together because I personally just don't believe in like shacking up before marriage. But because we had gotten engaged, we had planned on getting us a house in July. We was like, why not? Like, we already making steps towards the right direction, so why not? And on, so yeah, so I texted him. He didn't respond, and I texted him another time, and then by 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, okay, he's not answering. I kept calling and calling, and then finally around like um 1 o'clock, I got worried. I'm like, something's got to be wrong. Like, I already knew, like, why is this time in the day and he hadn't responded? Like, something got to be wrong. But you know, I said, okay, if he doesn't respond by 2 o'clock, I'm going to go see him. And so I did. And on the way there, like, I tried to think positively, like, okay, and I prayed, and I told myself, okay, worst case scenario, he went out and I didn't know, and he got into a bad accident, and he just in somebody's hospital, and the people don't know who to call. So that's what I'm thinking. So I was like, if his car is outside, yeah, it's bad news. So I ended up pulling up to his house, and his car was outside, and I just kind of already knew. Like, I tried to brace myself because at this point it's like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because it took an hour for me to get there. And I went upstairs, and I just remember hearing the TV, and Ward doesn't sleep with the TV on, so I'm like, okay, like, and it was so loud. And when I was talking to him late that night, it was not on. I would have heard it as loud as it was when I saw him. I mean, when I was talking to him. So then I go inside of the room, and at first I'm thinking he's playing dead. Like, I'm like, and I call his name. I'm like, Warrick, because he has a smile on his face, like a grin, almost. It was a grin, and then his eyes are like partially open, and his hands are up in the air like this, like both arms, both hands like in a fist like this, and almost like he was saying like, "Take me, Jesus." Like, it was just like so weird. So I'm like, Warrick, like, do you think this is a game? And he didn't say anything. He didn't move. And I was like, I just lost it. Cause I couldn't believe I couldn't believe what the freak I was looking at. I could not believe it. Like, this can't be real. Like, I just saw him yesterday, you know? And so when I finally like realized like what was happening, I got off the floor and I said, okay, let me hurry up and rush to him because maybe I got time to jump up and down on his chest, like, I could revive him or something. And I touch him and I'm like, man, like, why the freak did I do that? He was he was just so stiff, so cold. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what is going on? And so finally, I called all of his people, his relatives, and the way everything was pretty much set up in his room, it was like everything was laid out. It was like his phone was left unlocked on his home screen. His laptop was left open. Like, it was like the most weirdest thing. And to this day, we don't know what happened. Like, the autopsy hadn't come back, but a little part of me think that, like, based off what we spoke about the day before, a little part of me think that he was given grace, he was given peace, and that kind of brings me comfort because I'm like, for the longest I could not understand why was he posing like that. Like, the next day, that bothered me. Like, did he think this was a game? like did he know he was going? Because he didn't have any signs of distress, like a person that might have, had a heart attack or gone into cardiac arrest. I would think that naturally they'll be clutching at their chests or they'll be trying to move and maneuver to get to the phone. I was like, if that was the case, like, why didn't he call me? Like, why didn't he, what, like, like, what's going on? So I don't know what happened. There were no. It was just like he just went, like I'm like, did he see something? Did he see somebody? Was he giving grace? Like, I just was going through so many things in my head about what this could mean. And at first I thought, okay, that was God, telling him that he was coming to get him and that he would bring him back and we would be together. Like, I just was thinking the most craziest stuff because days after he passed, like maybe like 2-3 days after he passed, his credit score went up 54 points. He had just got this job, got a deposit to go out of town and do this job. He had his own business. Like, it's like everything in our lives were like moving up. So at this point, I'm like, somebody's playing a game on me. Like somebody's like real life playing a game on me. Like my life couldn't have been better per se because everything was moving in the right direction, or so I thought, you know. And I couldn't understand it. I could not understand it. And then as days went by, that's when everything just, if things could have not gotten worse, they everything turned for the worse. And right now I'm just numb. Like I'm just like I'm still in. I'm not even in grief. I would say over Warrick. I don't know what grief would be or is, because the only way I can describe it is that I just miss him so much. But a part of me is happy that he's, or not even happy, but comforted that he's at peace. And not just based off what I saw, because it was just so supernatural and so like, how can you how can you even explain that? It takes a person to have been there to know like what I saw, and you can't explain it. We won't know until the papers come back, but days later, um my car had broke down, and I had just been like, I feel like I had been drugged by the ponytail in a sense. You know, just trying to make myself known and try to find a place with Warrick within his family, if that makes sense. And I could just not understand, like, why are people like this? Like, why are people like this? Like the first instance, the first instance, you know, if you look back on our videos, Warwick has this necklace with a microphone on it. I bought him that microphone, I mean, that necklace. And his brother says to me that, oh, we let you keep the laptop and the phone. Although I show him the receipt that I bought it. And, you know, at that moment, I'm like, what can you do? When in actuality, because when Warwick's dad collected all of his belongings from his house, he said that he was going to hold on to it until his son came to get it, but he just started distributing stuff. And finally, when his son said that, hey, like, you could get whatever you want, like, I know how much my dad loved you. By that time, everything that I wanted. So, you know, it has not been a very great experience, but I don't regret knowing Warwick. I don't, I don't regret falling in love with him. I just know, like, deep down, like, I'm like, even throughout everything, like, I don't want to go into full detail about every little thing. I might do it in another video, but I just know Warwick is not happy with how all of this turned out. And a part of me would like to believe that our loved ones are not here with us. They cannot be at peace while watching us suffer and go through grief. They cannot be at peace. So I think they're somewhere else. They're in paradise right now. Cause no way they would be at peace. But if he were here, Warwick would be shaking his head like, And the only thing I can say sometimes is like when things get really tough or throughout that whole process, I've never been told no so many times. And some of the stuff that I've been through, I just remember saying, I just say like, baby, come get me. Like, just come get me. Like, come get me. And so it's funny that people are always talking about what a person may want when they pass away. Oh, they would want this or they would want that. No, that's what you want. And I've learned at a very young age, like this is stuff that I wouldn't have thought that I would be burdened with in a million years. Like I want to just worry about my credit score or finishing freaking college. Like that's what I want to worry about. I'm in nursing school. Like that, I want to just focus on passing these tests. But to have learned this at a young age, like it's the people in your family that don't come around, that don't like when you call them or they call you, they always asking for something. But they're never there when you call them up. You know, family stuff. And as soon as you pass away, they know everything about you, everything and nothing at the same time. And that angers me so bad. Like, and you know what's crazy too? Father's Day weekend, his brother, Warrick's brother, got married, and he was like in Vegas, and he was like, he asked Warrick to come out and we can get married too. Like, it was gonna be last minute. He was like, why don't y'all come out? I think it was like June 16th. But I declined, or we both declined, because I felt like we were entitled to enjoy our own day. I don't think like I don't feel regret about it, but I just feel like we were just entitled to enjoy our own day and do what we had envisioned. Every couple deserves that. I felt like we were entitled to have our special day the way that we had dreamt it to be. So we didn't do it, but once he died 2 weeks later, I'm like, is this a joke? Like, is somebody playing with me? Like, this like at this point, I don't even think this is real. I really think that we are just like spirits in a vessel, and the people that are just so easy in life and just so uncomfortable in life, we know that. And the people that leave on their own terms, we know that. And you won't finally wake up until you go. And I think some of us know that. And I hate that I feel like that. Like I'm just asleep right now, and I'm just trapped in this vessel. And this is not real. I remember driving one day and I was like, look how pretty everything looks. And I couldn't help but get mad because I'm like, what is this? I just feel like something is just setting me up to be distracted by everything. And when really, I'm really asleep. And I can't be convinced. I'm not convinced at all. But I do know this. I've dealt with a few things, like, and I'm not gonna say his whole entire family, because a lot and his friends. Warrick knew a lot of people. He's so loved. Warrick knows a lot of people, and his friends has been like very helpful, very helpful. His family, a portion of his family too. It's just some people, and I've just been hearing the most worst things from people that has just made me be even more numb. Like, I'm just like, why are people like this? Like, why are people like this? I The day after he died, his brother and his dad asked to go out to the storage. Mind you, I'm his fiance. I know everything. I know his passwords. I know his account information. I know all the whereabouts. Even when he passed away, they're like, was he sick? They didn't even know, like, any type of diagnosis he had. But these are the people that would know what he would and wouldn't want. And I took them out to the storage, and they opened up the storage, and I'm like, I start bawling my eyes out, and his dad comes to the car. It's like, oh Lord, she's crying again. Who says that? Like, when they open the storage, it just felt so final. Like, all the stuff in here is gonna be thrown away. So then he asked me about the phone that I've been using to contact his family. That And he's like, oh, are you gonna give it back? And so I just nut up. I'm like, one, what, like, am I not supposed, like, I know legally, but am I not supposed to have it? And you can't dictate what I can and cannot have. His son already told me I can have it in the laptop. So that made me feel very low. Like, and I just tell them to leave. Like, I went there to show them, the storage so they can put things in there and take some things out. But I went there for working out pictures. And I just told them, you know what, I'll stay here and find my own pictures. Just go. Just leave. And so I called my mom, and I'm like, Mama, please come out here and help me. And she and my sisters came out and helped me find them. And then all throughout the week, I'm gonna keep hearing, oh, we're gonna keep you in the loop. We're gonna keep you in the loop. I didn't know nothing about anything. I don't know, maybe if I were older, things would have been different. Maybe if we were married, things would have been different. And that really hurt me, because and I couldn't really heal until I realized that I had to accept that, you know what, I don't even have these people last name. So what does it matter? I really had to convince myself that, and put myself into that position where, you know what, hey, what can I do? And so, you know, probably like a day before the funeral, 2 days, memorial, they were like, they sent me a flyer. I was like, I didn't know anything about what day it was. Even the candlelight, they had a candlelight. I didn't even go. I couldn't even go if I wanted to. I just felt so sick. Just knowing that, like, probably like 2 days before, his aunt calls me and tells me, hey, yeah, he's gonna be cremated. And I just lose it. I just lose it. And I was like, well, I wanted to see him. Like, why was this decision made? I heard different reasons as to why. But and then she was like, when I told her I wanted to see him again one last time, she was like, well, you already seen him when he died. And that was like, I gotta call you back. And that was it. Like, I just blocked a lot of people after that. But, just hearing insensitive things like that just really make you numb. It just really make you feel like, you know, and I couldn't help but think sometimes, like, baby, come get me. Come get me. Like, seriously. And these are the things that I'm talking about. It's people that don't know his favorite food, don't know what he likes to eat, don't know his favorite drink, don't know his favorite football team. Things like that. Or the last time that they spoke to him, they sent the most nastiest text message. Or, like, these are just things that I know. And I know how people treated him. His own blood treated him. But I had to realize, like, like, I think a bit part of that is not grief. It's just regret, because they regret things that they've said or didn't say to him. And it's different for me. I'm not going to invalidate anybody else's emotions towards this situation, but I know personally I'm in love with him. And it's like, it sounds crazy because it's like, how can you be in love with a dead man? But I am. I just don't love him. I'm in love with him, and that can't go away overnight because he's not physically here. So, among other stupid things that I've been hearing, um, I've heard everything happens for a reason. God makes no mistakes. You're not a child anymore. You're an adult, so you need to grow up. It's okay to be sad, but to feel like you want to give up, that's what children do. And it makes you feel like, so why would you even ask how I'm feeling? If you want me to tell you that I'm okay, I'm not okay. But I think that's what people expect to hear from you when they ask, oh, how you doing? They want you to lie. And when you tell them how you're feeling, they're like, oh, well, you shouldn't feel like that. Warrick wouldn't want you to feel that way. Well, baby, Warrick's not here. He's not here to make it okay. So who cares what Warrick wants? Because he's not here. Who cares? Um, I've also heard you gotta. This is what kind of put a damp in my face. Like, I know I'm getting off tangent, but I've always been, I've always been raised a Christian. I've always been raised a Christian. Grew up in a church. But this one, what got me? You don't think God punishes people for their sins? I think that put the nail in the coffin for me. Like, no way do Christians believe this. If you're telling me there's a God that worked this out for my good, and after all the grief, He still loves me, and this is His idea of love, I'm not convinced. You tell me to pray, but I've heard though, after telling him that I prayed about it, well, He might not answer right now, but when you're really desperate and you mean it, then He'll come help you. Then I'm like, do I have to be like chugging a bottle of pills or drinking bleach for like I need help? So I just say, you know what, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced, and I don't want to hear anything else about it. I even prayed on the way to him, and I told my friend, I said, I pray for Warrick. Like, no diss to my baby, but you think I wanted to be with a 50-year-old man? You know, I didn't. That's not how I saw my life. But I prayed for him. I said, God, please bless me with the man that I need and not the man that I want, because it seemed like everybody that I wanted did not want me, or they weren't the best for me. And I'm not mad at that, because we're like in our 20s. Nobody's trying to be tied down and married with kids in their 20s. So I didn't fault them for that, but I just knew what I wanted. I just knew what I wanted. And then Warrick came along, and he became my best friend. And then it came to a point where I'm like, I don't want anybody else to have him. I want him to be in my life forever. And I knew that being with him and sharing life with him was just one of the amazing things ever. Like, I just, you just have that feeling like, what, I don't want to miss out on a good thing, pretty much. Because he's so funny, so loving, have the biggest heart. And I just knew I felt like he was for me. I felt like he was for me. I just, I was like, can't nobody else have him. And I would tell him, don't nobody want you, don't nobody want you but me. And we'll say that to each other. Don't nobody want you but me. Because he felt the same way. He told me that, all he was missing was happiness. And he questioned God, why so young? But he said, who am I to question? Maybe this journey might not be for me. It might just be for you. And looking back on that text message, I'm like, is this a game? Is somebody playing a game with me right now? Like, seriously. And now, how I feel, I'm like, after dealing with all these shenanigans and these people, I just know that my baby is he's been my best friend through all of this. And I just know he wouldn't be happy with how a lot of things turned out. He wouldn't be. But now, how I look at things is like, every day is another day closer to Warrick. And that's where my mind is at right now. And it's not that I'm just super sad about him not being here. It's just the reality of, dang, this is gonna happen again. This won't be the only time. And people say things get better. They don't. They're just pacified. I just compare life to like you just painting a wall, and every time that paint chips away, you just keep painting over it and painting over it. Every time that chips away, it's eventually it's look it looks like a big ugly mess, and you just get tired of looking at it. And I think people that actually take matter in their own hands, they just get tired of looking at it. They get tired of just painting over that chip paint, because it don't really get better. You just keep painting over shit. But anyway, y'all, thank y'all for listening. I think on the next video, I'm going to. I gotta do a part two because I, I'm not gonna be able to upload a whole hour video because of my storage. But I'm gonna do a video on how Warrick is still kind of in my life, and that might be like a trigger for some Christians. But I want to claim that I am Christian now, and I'll probably explain that in the next video as well. But thank y'all for tuning in.